Yeah, do you, please raise your hands first, and I will, many of you can ask questions. Yes?
They used, for one of the controls, they chose the word book.
Yeah.
I think that maybe that one might lead people to thinking about studying or reading if they don't like reading. I think they might want to choose a word like love or something that has a calming effect, or a word similar to own, like home, to use as control, because I think the word book is a really inappropriate control. And I think it's not a good test, therefore.
Yeah, I think I've done it. I did do another control. I think you've got a good point, hands up. There is another, what else did I can dig out the other word I used as a control. But yeah, looking back on it, it's probably not the best word to use. But then again, every word has a semantic meaning. You choose love, then that's going to have, I could be testing something totally different there. I'm trying to use a neutral word. It's very difficult. Maybe, I feel like the other one I chose was table. And from the results of table, they felt more anxious after cleaning for 5 minutes.
How about another soothing, nonsensical word that doesn't mean anything?
Yeah, possibly. That's definitely. I mean, there's definitely holes in my work in the study. So, hands up. Yeah.
Can I just on that point? Conversely, what about a mantra that sounds like a word in our language? A mantra that sounds like something with meaning. So whilst you were repeating it, you would also be thinking unavoidably about the English word. I guess there probably are some mantras that sound something like English words, which would perhaps distract you.
I think so. Yeah, I think so. It actually requires quite a lot of thought to think of these testing controls. On the word of one inspiration for me, just getting back to that love thing, is the guy called Dr. Emoto. And I don't know if you've read his book. I think Stephen's read his book.
Yeah.
You might want to talk a little bit about that. But I couldn't use him in my control because he didn't use controls. Or there's definitely issues with his research. But essentially, what he did was he froze water, put love round one and hate round the other, and he proposes that when he looks under the microscope, the crystals in the water, the loved ones are beautiful, the hate ones are, not beautiful. You could talk more about that. I don't know if you want to.
Yeah. It's an amazing book, and it's amazing work he's put out there. Basically, what he's saying is that if we just send a simple word to water, it changes its crystalline structure. And he took pictures of that. So he took pictures of water you send like thank you to. So you send thank you to water, and then he saw that the water under the microscope looks very different. Whereas when you take a word like hate and you send that to another glass of water, the crystalline structure will look very different. So we're like 70% made of water. So yeah, basically he says his experiments tell us a lot about ourselves, about how we react to those words.
I'm assuming they did look at the water under a microscope before sending these words.
Yeah. It's like, I think he took the same water.
Right. So they looked at both of them first, and then send. How do you send?
He just said like the word thank. I don't know. I mean,
at this point, I also watched a similar experiment with rice, water,
right.
Rice in water. So saying thank you to the rice, one of the cups with the rice grew, and the other one saying some other word, it was rotten after.
Right,
Over time.
and in his experiment, it looked like after a month, like that's like the official thing you can, I don't know, read in his book or see in his movie or whatever on YouTube. That the water with the hate words we sent hate to got really black. The rice in that cup got really black. And in the other cup where we sent the word thank you, or he says the most powerful words are love and gratitude. These are the two most powerful words. So when you send love and gratitude to what happened to the rice, he says it started fermenting after a month. So it started bubbling and gave off this really, really good smell.
Didn't you do your own test?
Yeah, exactly. Then I thought, wow, that's really amazing. I'll do the same thing. I want to check it out. And I have been practicing a mantra as well at the time. So I was like, okay, cool. I'll take a mantra. I'll send it to one glass. I'll take another cup, just like in his experiment, which I'll ignore. And the third cup, I'll say like hate or something. Yeah, I'll say like you're bad rice, bad water. So I did that, and it was amazing because the first cup started fermenting like pretty fast. Like I sent the mantra to and the water started bubbling, and the rice gave off this really good smell. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. This is working.
How long did it take?
It took like one day. That was like the first day. So that cup looked like really great, and the other two cups, they were just dead, just like water and rice. And then what started to happen, like in the next days, is that they started to change in color. So the hate cup like started to turn red and brown kind of a thing. And in the first 4 days, like these cups, they really fell apart, like really quickly. And the mantra cup, that stayed the same in the first 4 days. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. This is really working. But then what happened after that, like on the 5th and the 6th day, somewhere around then, the mantra cup also started to deteriorate. And once it started to fall apart, I noticed like it went quickly, and it started to feel weird even to send like a mantra to that kind of cup, because like the rice was went bad really quickly, like within 1 or 2 days. And yeah, and so it went on, right? So like after 7 or 8 days, I just had to say, wow, okay, all glasses are gone. I had like worms, and yeah, it got really gross. So yeah, I broke off the experiment after like, I don't know, 8 days, I think it was.
Were you using the mantra every day during this period of time?
Yeah, of course. I set like the mantra like 2 or 3 times a day. So I would sit in front of the cup and really focus on that. So for about 5 to 10 minutes, I think, or 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening. So just to conclude, my experiment did work. During the first 4 days, there was a clear difference. I took pictures of that.
And the cups were what, glasses?
Right, 3 glasses.
You said things fell apart. What do you mean by that?
Sorry?
You said things fell apart. What did you mean by that?
The rice started to deteriorate. It started to go bad. So I took the same water, the same rice, same glasses, same place, and yeah, for the first 4 days, a huge difference. I really have 2 brown, bad glasses of rice, and one cup with really good white rice. So yeah, it does change. So the idea behind that is that words can change the crystalline structure of water.
That's
yeah.
one of the big differences in Indian philosophy. They actually say that words or sound can have an effect on material, physical matter. That's there. It's quite dynamic. It's quite a dynamic thing.
Here I want to. Okay. Here's a question.
Okay, I was going to say, if sound has a effect on reality, on physical matter, now that sound, could that be induced? Is that sound, is that something in your head, or is it something to do with the physical sound vibrations in the air or in other matter, in which case, rather than making the sound yourself, could it be induced in you, for example, by a speaker or other form of making sound?
Possibly. In terms of the levels, there's according to Indian philosophy, there's 4 different levels. There's speech, which is the most dense. There's thought, which is the one you're referring to, and then there's the feeling I talked about a flower and seeing the beauty of the flower and having the impression. And then there's that level that goes past that, and they call it pure undifferentiated potential energy, or Shakti they call it. And that's what they say binds the universe together, these 2 opposing forces. When Shakti splits into centripetal and centrifugal energy, then that's this kind of magnetic pull to. But tapping, mantra uses the word to tap into that last stage as the source of the wavelength.
I just maybe want to add, according to Emoto, he took different glasses and he just stuck the words love and gratitude on the glass, and he says it changed the structure. So he took pictures of that water and it looked really beautiful. Actually, I do the same thing at home. I read his book and I thought it was amazing. I have this huge receptacle for water, and I just stuck the words love and gratitude on the bottle, and so the water sees that. So according to Emoto, it does work. I don't know if that's placebo or not. I think my water tastes great.
Are there any studies of languages that have words that sound the same? Languages, maybe if language A has a word for love that sounds like language B's word for hate.
Yeah, like in Macedonian, for no you say ne, and in Greek for yes you say ne. Totally opposite meanings, but the same.
Right. According to
Indian, Serbian people also say.
According to Indian philosophy, well, there's only 3. Well, there's only 3. It's all about the vibration of the word and how that directly correlates
the
between
sound
the
vibration in the air.
The vibration, the frequency of that word, in terms of how that relates to the essence of what you're trying to put across. So, the example I gave was huck is truth, and then just truth. I guarantee you, if you repeat huck, and then do that for 5 minutes, and then repeat truth, you'll see what I mean.
Mm. But you were saying it's a very physical word.
Right. Maybe later we'll have to open to the group again, because it's
that's
4 people talking. Maybe does someone else have a question? Anyways.
Okay, I wanted to say the words because you said when you say hak, then you have something.
Yeah.
But you can say truth.
Exactly.
Right? So maybe it's actually, as I understood, actually the science tries to prove that actually there are some vibrations, that actually there is no mystical meaning of the words. They do work. I don't say they don't work. But there is no anything mystical in this, as I understand. I don't know if I'm right.
Yeah.
So in that point, even when you stick the word love, it's because you use the intention. It's not that there is written love, so the water can understand what is written there. Because if this way we can go in a discussion, in a different discussion. Do the words exist somewhere there, or we put there the meaning, right? The meaning
Exactly.
of the words.
Exactly.
According to like Indian philosophy, again, it all goes back to there is this undifferentiated, ultimately there is this undifferentiated potential energy that exists and is tapping into that. But I think you've got a good point.
I had a yoga teacher before, and when he introduced us to mantras, he actually, well, to be honest, I think that the reason he said this, what I'm going to tell you now, was to make people less reluctant about practicing something which is very foreign to their own culture.
Yeah.
But, because the whole point is the vibration, right? Not the meaning of the word. And actually the meaning might be even destructive. And that's why these words, which are used for mantras, have no meaning actually, right? I mean, or even to us, they have no meaning. So we don't really associate to anything while we are practicing them. So it's about the vibration. But what he said, it's also another moment you mentioned about the repetition. Because the constant repetition, also has a calming effect. Like you can see that, you can feel that through listening to music that is repeating the same sound. So what he said was like, oh, you can use any word, and any word can be a mantra. You can just say Coca-Cola, 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 Coca-Cola for 1,000 times. With that, Okay, that word has a meaning, yeah, but still, I don't know what's your comment about it.
I would say,
another thing
yeah.
I was going to say about what was it, hug, right?
Yeah.
But to me, that's, as you already mentioned, because in yoga there are bandhas, right? When you rapidly exhale, and it causes the contraction to the abdomen. So I think that actually can be related to something else than the word itself.
I'm not sure if I'm able to comment on the second one. I just don't know enough. But on the first one, according to according to Indian philosophy, they'd say that probably Coca-Cola won't have a particularly beneficial effect. The reason for that is that the reason why it may have a slightly beneficial effect is when you're repeating this over and over again, is you're concentrating on one thing.
Yes.
And that is actually part of it, is having this space between not having thoughts about other things. If you do repeat a strong mantra enough, it has the power to take you through all this rubbish thoughts that you're having, or just this fluff gathering about your day and what you want and what you don't want and what you're going to do. It's powerful enough to take, it's the bridge. They talked about the bridge again. It's power to take you through these, from the thoughts to the slightly more obscure states that are less easy to define. And when you get to those states, that's where you can feel the benefits of being free, I guess, from other forces.
Any other questions? We still have 4 minutes. Yes.
I don't know, it all sounds a little implausible to me for various reasons. A postmodernistic skeptic would say that no word has any inherent connection to any particular meaning or semantics, that every word is just arbitrarily connected to other words. And therefore, the whole thing's going to fall down right there. And then the words even that have been just brought up tonight, why is gratitude special and not the Spanish word for gratitude or the Russian word for gratitude? Now, and why is huck so much better than truth? In my culture, the word truth has a lot of positive connotations. And since that water doesn't recognize either Russian or Latin or Greek, then we can only assume that the good things that happened in that water came somehow from some, positive feeling that emerged out of your consciousness. But the word truth has lots of positive feelings in my consciousness, and chanting the word truth would probably be just fine. So all of those seem to mix up and say, how one word is so much better than another. And I do wonder, going back to your examination and your research, just why is, I'm not sure, Om so much better than love, or all the other words that we've mentioned.
Like I say,
whether scientifically or even in an Indian philosophy might have an explanation for it, but you had said you wanted to prove it scientifically as well.
The study has got faults in what we're talking about is quite a subjective thing, and the points you mentioned regarding one language and another. I don't have a specific answer, just that Arabic, Sanskrit, and Hebrew are considered the only language where you can do a mantra because of their phonic vibration. In terms of they actually have a direct result on the quality of the word that you're trying to express. What I would invite you to do, is to, I tested non-meditators, and they gave me these results. So what I invite all of you to do is to, when you get home or whenever you have free time, is to just do a little questionnaire, answer this one, how do you feel now, then repeat on for 5 minutes and see for yourself. It's really an experiential thing. This can't be gathered directly from the mind. You go, okay, I've got it. No, you can't. I think this goes a little bit beyond that.
I just want to seems like just a slightly different, just an alternative that I think a lot of people meditate silently, right?
Sure.
And their heart rate is lower, and they feel better for in these ways,
Yeah.
right? And so again,
I'm not saying this is the only way. I'm just saying, the tests have been done, and this is what's happened. And I'm sure tests have been done for. I've seen tests for loads of different types of other meditations, which I couldn't put in this point, and they do tend to support having positive effects as well. As does other things like muscle relaxation, and just general probably having sex, and lots of things.
Yeah, it begins to sound like a truism that yes, we know that when we sit silently, or possibly chant something, we know that we'll feel a bit calmer. Almost always through it. And so, again, it sounds kind of like a truism that doesn't have a lot of explanatory power.
Well, again, I just invite you to, do the test, and then you can come back to me and give me your thoughts.
It is impossible to do it blind, though.
Yeah,
It's impossible to do it without, and I presume it was impossible for you to test these individuals without them knowing what they were being tested on. You can't give them a placebo pill. You can't chant a mantra without knowing that you're chanting it, and you can't not chant a mantra without not knowing you're chanting it.
Exactly.
As you can with a drug, you can administer a little white chalk pill.
Exactly. Yeah, the placebo effect could well be.
I think the point is that when we express our feelings, we use words. That's the whole point. No one would when you try to communicate your feelings, you won't try to use telepathic feelings. So that's the point of this, I think. I understand.
And just to say, just about your thing, like according to Emoto, actually each language does have a different effect on water. So he took pictures of water using like Japanese, arigato, thank you, English, thank you, Chinese, thank you. He took pictures of that water, and he saw that the crystalline structures were different according to the language, but all crystals formed, or most crystals formed, it's not a real science. Were really beautiful, So just the idea is that the word positive does have a positive.
Right.
The word thank you does have a positive effect on water.
So does
That,
truth.
that seems to,
So does
play
truth.
in the postmodernist hands, and it's not the language at all that caused it. Because the languages are all different, with different sounds and different emphasis and everything. And so it couldn't be the language that caused it. Whether it was, xie xie or thank you. Totally different sounds, different emphasis and everything. Presumably, it must have been something to do with some positive energy that you were exerting, right? Which is possible, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so then the language is not necessary at all. You can just exert the positive energy. Any word. There's hundreds and hundreds of positive words. Everything from love to affection to giving to charity to any number of words that would be perfectly positive. Different syllabic structures, different short words, long words. The language would not have anything to do with it.
I think in conclusion, just to wrap it up, is to say, I think I'd agree. If there's one thing, whether you buy into these mantras or you don't, I think one thing we can possibly say is that to be aware of our dialogue, our internal dialogue, and what we say. But there is a power in words, and they do have an effect on ourselves and others. It is, I guess, a truism anyway. But I think we maybe forget about that a lot as well.
And without meaning to switch back, I was just wondering about your experiment. What does that mean if things went bad after 6 days? What does that mean?
The rice changed its color and it started to stink.
Yeah.
After
even though
4
the-
days.
Even though the energy was good.
Sorry?
Even though the energy was good. We were saying on the good side, it started to go bad as well.
Right, after 4 days.
Why did that happen?
Because rice starts to deteriorate. Obviously, it just starts to
Physically.
deteriorate.
Physically,
If you
right.
put it in exactly physically,
Right.
it's just like being in this atmosphere, right?
Right.
Just
It's
bacteria,
unavoidable.
right, start to grow.
It's unavoidable.
Unavoidable, yeah, absolutely,
I
absolutely.
think another way you can do a blind test on that. I think you can do a blind test by recording several other words,
We're already
and then
almost-
walking in there
it's
and
only 10 minutes.
earplugs, and then holding it to the water, and then having it say whatever random thing. I think that would be a way to blind.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Thomas.